Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Phoenix Wisdom Podcast. I am your host, Janet Sandberg, and today I am joined by the lovely Dr. Jeannie May. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am honored.
Can you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
So, I'm a board certified physician. Usual hats include geriatrics, which is old folks, hospice, so end of life care, and also addiction medicine. So, that's what I spend most of my time doing. But recently, and that's part of the reason that I'm here, is I discovered breathwork in a totally different way to really get to the root of what's bothering us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yoo-hoo. I love it when the holistic stuff and the medical stuff come together. It's awesome. And it is happening more and more that medical doctors are realizing that this stuff is not, scary or harmful in any way, even though it's been done for thousands of years.
Exactly. And it's kind of a all the above type of thing. It doesn't
Yes.
mean,
It's not an either or.
exactly. It can be, I kind of feel like I'm here to be a bridge between Western and ancient medicine because
Beautiful.
there's so much healing that is so desperately needed.
Like I always say, the holistic stuff is good, especially for deep inner work, right? And the medical stuff is good for the physical self.
Yep.
If you're in a car accident, breath work isn't going to do that much.
Right.
You
That's
need
right.
to go to the hospital. They're the experts on fixing the body.
Hmm.
But yeah, where that emotional, spiritual illness part comes in, that's what the holistic stuff is really good for. But I'm sure we will learn all about how you got into breath as
And
we keep talking. But let's start by going back in time and go back to that time when you were thinking that you didn't want to be here. What was
so,
going on? How are you
yeah,
feeling?
I mean, actually, I've suffered from depression and anxiety my entire life. Like it definitely has been an issue. The first time I actually attempted suicide was at 7 years old,
Oh my gosh.
which you're not even supposed to understand the concept of
No, no.
suicide at 7 years old. But I remember taking a butter knife and like trying to stab it into my heart. Like that hurts. So
Yeah.
it's not funny, but it's been something that I've been struggling with my entire life since childhood. And it was definitely something that I couldn't control. Like there's a lot of stigma regarding this. In a way I was hesitant to even come on this podcast because we're really going to go deep, and even in the medical field where, mental health should be respected, there's still a lot of stigma, and a doctor talking about the fact that, I've been suicidal in my life is something that people could judge, or and it's something that I've definitely hidden for many, many years, put on a happy face so people couldn't tell, but it was always there. Really got bad after a while, where I started having literally hundreds of times of days, in a day, what I call death flashes, where I
Mm,
would literally have these flashes of myself committing suicide. And it
wow.
wasn't triggered by anything. They would just come out of the blue, out of control. I felt completely helpless about them. Every few months they would change as far as, the method of suicide. Yeah, it was scary. It was really scary. Physicians are actually known to be some of the worst patients on earth, and I would not actually be an exception. But when you're hospice patients, you're getting jealous of your hospice patients. Something needs to be done.
Yes.
So I went to my physician, and she prescribed me Prozac. And this is what we're taught in Western medicine to do, is that, something's wrong, we prescribe a medicine. Like we
Mhm.
are literally taught that's the answer. I want to stress that I do not believe that a pill for every problem is the correct solution, because it definitely isn't. But I mean, that said, Prozac saved my life. I mean, I think without Prozac, I would no longer be here. I was so resistant to taking it to begin with, because I thought it was going to change who I was. And it did, actually. It changed me for the better. It wasn't like a happy pill, Valium or Ativan or something that makes you feel whatever. And it takes a while to kick in, but it actually took me to a new level of existence. Like it
Yep.
before Prozac, I mean, I truly had a chemical imbalance where my filter of the world was nothing but negative. Like I truly saw people and the world as out to get me, as I was the victim. Life was happening to me. I had no choice but to, succumb to these emotions and these feelings. And I just wanted it to be over.
Yeah. Well, you would.
Yeah. I mean, so being on Prozac actually took me to a level where I was, wow, all people are not evil. Look at that. And I can actually see good in people. And they say, it takes 6 months to a year to actually change the chemical imbalance. But I actually stayed on Prozac for over a decade.
Yeah.
Anytime I tried to come off, it wouldn't go well. And I actually was on different agents and all sorts of stories on the different agents. But after over a decade, I realized, you know what? I'm not in the depths of depression anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
about to off myself anymore. So that's a bonus.
Mhm.
But I didn't really feel like I was living either. Like it
Yeah.
kind of numbs you out where, no, I'm not suicidal, but I'm not feeling the joys of life either. So eventually I tapered off. And it's very, very important with these medicines. You don't just stop them cold turkey because you're going to feel like
No.
crap. You need to slowly get off. And then and I did lots of talk therapy. I had years and years of talking to people about what my problem was and what's going on. And that's just it. I mean, logically, I got it. I got it. Crap happened in childhood. It's affecting my present today and, yada, yada, yada. But no matter how much I talked about it, it never went away. You know what I mean? There
Mhm.
was still this nagging feeling of depression and anxiety and I just couldn't squash it out or think it gone. But that's until I found breath work. So it was on a complete lark. Like I was just on my birthday, I like to learn something new. So I was like, okay, on my birthday, I'm going to go to a course on breathwork training.
I
And I
love
had
that.
no idea what it was. I thought it was like I knew about Andrew Wiles, insomnia, where it's breathe in for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. I thought it was gonna be something like that. I was
Okay.
like, okay, well, I can help my addiction patients with anxiety. This will be
Mhm.
good. Myself with anxiety. And what I found was mind blowing. So it was a somatic transformational breath work. So
Oh,
so it was like 90 minutes. My first 90-minute session was like 5 years of talk therapy for me. It
wow.
was mind blowing. It was, you know, and a lot of this too is that most of us have, in fact, all of us, if you're human, you have had trauma in this
Mhm.
life and we hold on to it in our body.
Yeah.
And if you watch an animal, like if a gazelle, it's running, it's living its best life and it's being, caught by a cheetah, it'll then freeze while it's, and you actually get this huge endorphin release, pain relief, all the stuff during that moment of freeze. But if it gets away, what it'll do is it'll shake. It'll shake everything off and then it gets up
Yeah.
fine. See, we humans don't do that.
No.
Like if you think about it, if we're in a stressful situation, someone's coming into your home with a gun and, or whatever, right? And we start freaking out, we start revving up. We go into the sympathetic, the fight or flight, right?
Mhm.
We're revving the energy up so we can do it, right? If you're in a situation where you don't get to fight and you don't get to, flight, then all that energy and you freeze, which sometimes that's the best thing we could do. Sometimes
Mhm.
freezing, don't knock freezing. Sometimes we got to freeze. But the issue is after the freezing, we don't discharge that energy.
Right.
It gets trapped inside us and it causes this just sort of, I'm not safe feeling. I'm not safe. I'm not
Mhm.
safe. It has nothing to do with logic. It doesn't have to do with what's
Yeah.
actually there. It just has to do with what we're carrying on. In breath work, you turn off the monkey mind, frontal lobe, no more talking there. You go deep, you go in there and you let those feelings come up. What was really cool for me is that I didn't even have to go back to the traumas. Like in talk therapy, we had gone over them over and over. And I was like, I get it. You know what I mean? It's not going
I know what
away.
happened.
I know. But this lets the emotion comes up, you feel it, but then you let it go and it lasts. It's the most amazing thing where it's like, I mean, I feel like a new person after doing it. And it's not that, stuff doesn't come up and everything, but it's been a transformation from, a life where I just felt like everything's happening to me to everything's happening for me. Like it's now by using the breath, you actually can shift your neurologic state from the fight or flight to the rest and chill out just by using your breath. Like we have that power.
Yeah.
Only humans can control their breath. Other animals don't have the ability to do that.
No,
Right.
no.
But part of that is so that we can have the choice to switch our emotional state from the fight or flight chronic stress, which a lot of us are in all of the time,
Mhm.
to choose to be more calm, more deliberate, to be that eye in the storm.
Well,
That's
and thinking about it, if we had childhood trauma or trauma for at a young age, so every time that something bad happens, every time we're afraid, every time whatever, our parents are fighting, all of those things, and we go into that fight or flight, and then we're like, whew, okay, that's done. But it just builds up, right? And
right.
then we're so used to feeling that way as adults, we kind of subconsciously look for those situations that make us feel that way because that's the way we're used to feeling. We put ourselves into those stressful situations. So it just keeps building and building and building. So, yeah, this is amazing. And the fact that when you've talked it to death already, sometimes it's good to find a way to release all of that energy
Yep.
without, having to relive it.
Right. Exactly
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
because we don't, well, and sometimes we can't. And a lot of times for whatever reason the trauma is too great. We don't really know what the trauma was or we were too
Right.
young,
Right.
so this is amazing that you can just let it all go.
Yeah. Yeah. It really
Yeah.
is free. It gives a control to life that so many people don't even realize that we have.
Right. Shoot. I was going to ask you a question and then it disappeared. I was going to say when you were talking about being on medication, part of it is yes, that fear. I was on antidepressants in like the mid 2000s, like around I don't know, 20. Actually, no, it was closer to 2010. So, yeah, 2010-ish and totally numbed out. It was necessary at the time, but I didn't really like it. So I
Mhm.
went off them after a little bit of time. And then years later, I was in a position again because I actually still needed them. And, I'd hit that rock bottom and I was like, but I was so resistant to going back on meds because I didn't like the ones I was on before. It never occurred to me that, medical technology had progressed in the 15 years that had passed since then, and that the medications we have now are much more, um, I don't know what the word is, but they're more advanced, they're more precise. It's not just like a general numb. They're
Yep.
much more targeted. So, yeah, it also medication saved my life. And I went on vacation one time and forgot them. I was gone for like, it was only a few days, like
Yeah.
3 or 4 days. Didn't take them. And by the time I was like, I'm nauseous, I'm shaking, I've got a headache, I'm dizzy all the time. What is wrong with me? And then I was like, this is why they say to wean off the meds
Yeah.
slowly.
Yep. Because
I
your
was like,
body's
I'm
used
in
to it. Yeah.
withdrawal.
Right. You were.
Oh,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
yeah. So yes, definitely wean off slowly if you decide to go off.
Right.
And another guest I had on was talking about, these medications are great because they sort of raise our baseline up,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So we don't fall below whatever critical lower level. We don't fall into that place of danger. But they also kind of top us out a little bit. So
That's
like what you were saying, we can only be so happy while we're on them. We're in this very sort of safe zone. We have
right.
ups and downs,
Yep.
but they're limited on both sides.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of at that point now where I'm thinking I would maybe like I think I would like to the top level to go away. I would not like to be restricted in my joy and happiness and experiencing the good things, but I'm not sure if it's safe enough to
Right. Right.
but maybe I should try some somatic breath work.
Yeah. Maybe it's
That'll help me.
fantastic.
And
Usually.
there's so much I keep seeing on Facebook and Instagram and everything. So many, somatic yoga, somatic everything. Somatic is kind of the buzzword of the moment.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk a little bit about what that actually means?
It means getting into the body. So many of us in Western society are just pretending we don't have bodies, or that our body is simply there to act as a transport system for our brain. But that's not what we're here for. You know what I mean? We're here in these bodies to experience these bodies. And our bodies are trying to serve us the best that they can, but they can only work with what we're giving them. And that includes not only, the nutrition or the exercise or the whatever, but also, what emotional things we're putting in and not dealing with and then keeping trapped in our bodies. And there's so much to the mind body connection is just so strong. There's so much evidence coming out about like we always just used to think that, the heart just pumps the blood. But actually, the heart is communicating all of the time with our brain. Our heart is actually relaying to our brain, okay, we're safe now. Okay, we're not safe now. Okay, things are cool. Okay, they're not. It's this careful balance of communication of really all of our organs, but especially the heart and brain, that with our breath, we can then influence. So we can actually tell our heart, hey, it's okay now. Like I get you're starting to rev up and what, no, chill it out.
Calm down.
Exactly. Get into a coherent rhythm. And then it relays up to the brain. It's okay now. We're good. We're good. But like you were talking about before, there does become a certain, time where we get comfortable with the discomfort. Oftentimes it comes down to, am I ready to change?
Yeah.
Because like with these the 90, so there are a whole bunch of breath work things, so much breath work, so many things you can do, on a daily basis. And then these breath work journeys, they're these longer dedicated, but it doesn't work unless you do it. So I
Yeah.
mean, the intense ones, like it's 45 minutes of intense breathing. But if you don't do the breathing, then it doesn't get you there. Yeah. A lot of it is still a conscious choice. What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to, like, having a therapist doesn't work unless you go to the appointment
Exactly. Well, and talk.
and talk. Yeah. You can also go and just show up, and that doesn't
Yeah.
help much either. Right.
Right. Right.
So you're off medications. You're doing somatic breath work. And how are you feeling? Have you had any suicidal ideation
No,
in that
yeah,
time?
I've been doing really well as far as that goes. Like I definitely, I still have ups and downs, but
Sure.
now it doesn't send me into the death spiral like it used to. So now it's a matter of me. A big thing too is getting board certified in addiction medicine. The whole idea of like cravings, right? Is that it's any emotion. So it's not forever. And I teach this with my addict patients, like watching a craving, because it'll go in a pattern, right? You feel the craving, it's getting really big, it gets really big, and you're thinking, wow, I can't do anything, I have to give into this craving. But really, if you know this is temporary, I can watch it and just watch the craving, then it'll go back down.
Hmm.
And really, it's the same with, lots of times feel depressed, feel like everything's whatever, knowing this is not going to last forever. Let me step back, be the observer, let me watch it, knowing it's not going to last forever. Then you come out better on the other side.
Yeah. Easier said than done,
Absolutely.
I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on the craving too. But, and definitely with addicts, I would imagine it's a very, very strong craving, unlike the, you know, I want some potato chips while I'm watching television type of crazy craving.
Yep.
Yeah. But so interesting. So, what advice would you have for our listeners who are currently in the dark and feeling hopeless?
To reach out and connect with someone, to tell someone. That's one of the most important things is knowing that you truly are not alone. And even just calling a hotline and listening to another human being and knowing there are other people out there. I think that's one of the key things is actually reaching out to get help. Because when you're in that situation, everything feels hopeless. It feels like there is no way out. Connecting to another person and just telling someone, just the act of telling someone, then changes the trajectory of where you're going.
Beautiful. And yes, I fully agree. So important. And you don't have to wait until things are absolutely
Right.
terrible
Right.
to tell somebody. Or you can wait until you're feeling a little bit better and be like, so I've been going through this, and um it's not good, and it feels like it's never going to end.
Right. Yep.
And so where can the general person, no matter where we're living, learn more about breath work or do it? Do we need like a coach or Are there like YouTube videos? Does it need to be done in person?
There are as many ways to do it as there are people on this earth. I mean, there's so many different ways, so many different opinions. Everyone's describing breath work now as the new yoga. So it's where yoga was 15 years ago. That it's finally people are catching on and realizing, hey, we have something absolutely free that you can do anytime, anywhere, even without people even knowing that you're doing it, to control our mental and emotional states. Like it's an amazing power that everybody needs to know that we have. But yeah, there's so many different places that YouTube is definitely one. There are all sorts of courses. You can go to the Breath MD, which is my website. Doing 90-minute classes, but also coming up with a daily routine of waking up and doing just even 5 minutes of breath work to start your day completely changes how your day is going to turn out and how you're going to flow through your day, whether you can be in that flow, be in that state that, we're all wanting to be in, where, life is truly just happening for us. We're going with emotions and watching it unfold with awe and curiosity and joy.
Awe and curiosity and joy. That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and your wisdom. I appreciate you.
If I could, I'd love to tell your audience too a way that they can change their emotional state in just 90 seconds.
Yes, please.
So for free, if you text breath to 26786, that's breath 26786. Then you'll get a really short video where I'll breathe with you for 90 seconds, teaching you a breathwork technique you can do anywhere. So if someone is triggering the living crap out of you, you can, while they're screaming at you, and be in the calm, which gives you the power and ability to respond from a place of, your higher self rather
Yeah.
than
The triggered self.
exactly. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are meant for more, and that it really does get better. If you are in crisis, there are numbers that you can call or text to get the help that you need. That information for Canada and the US is in the description below each episode. If you are in immediate crisis, please call 911. We love you, and I hope you'll listen again.